Welcome back to another chapter of Upcycling the American Dream, the story of Hamilton v. Vortic. I'm RT Custer. Make sure that you stay tuned to the end, where I let you know the best way to follow along and see the next chapter. So the next time I went to New York was for what they call a settlement conference. You know, again, this is a federal lawsuit, Hamilton v. Vortic. Like this is a huge, huge deal. And so we had several, throughout years, this was, like I talked about, it was like probably 3 to 4 years of just talking. You know, every month or two, there'd be a volley of emails going back and forth and saying, well, you know, settlement in a big lawsuit like this is always a potential. You know, one side can say, basically, if we did these things and you did these things, like, could we either be friends or just not enemies, you know, and just drop this whole thing. And so at any point, these huge lawsuits can be settled out of court. I mean, you read about that periodically. And so we were trying. There was lots of discussions had, and we can't obviously disclose what was said in those discussions. One thing that happens as part of those discussions is like official, and I forget exactly what it's called, but there's official meetings where you have a settlement conference and a mediator, and there is it's you and them, but you know, your attorneys, and you all sit in a conference room, and there's a judge or a professional mediator of some kind who has a great deal of knowledge on the law, and they sit and listen to both sides' arguments, and they try to help you find a middle ground. So I went to, and if you look at the court records for this, it's interesting because I've been told this doesn't happen very often. I went to New York. We met the attorney there at the time. You know, that attorney was based in New York, so I met them at the courthouse. We went to this mediator's office. I was kind of excited, albeit real nervous. You know, Tyler and I had talked about kind of like, what if this, what if that? Like, should we take the, you know, we kind of had a game plan that I was prepared to present. And I thought it was a little weird because it was just their attorneys the whole time. Nobody came from Switzerland or the corporate office of Swatch or Hamilton. It was just their attorneys. And I don't know, I didn't know what was normal here. And we sit down, we talk for a little while, and we seemed to come to a decent agreement, and all of a sudden, they basically had to call HQ and say, okay, now that we've talked about this, let's go make a call and make sure that's okay. That attorney and I had to laugh about it after. It's not funny, but we had to laugh about it. The judge that was a mediator and everybody else in the room was just like, wait, what? Like, the court mandated us to do this, and in the court document that said come to New York and be prepared for this meeting, one of the things it said was be prepared to make a decision because we could end this right away and we'll save, like, this is a federal lawsuit, we're going to save the government a lot of money paying all these people to sit here and argue about this if we just settle this out of court and make it go away. And now you have to call Switzerland? And we never really got the end of the story because no one answered the call. I don't know if they were sleeping. I don't know if they didn't even know the whole thing was happening. It was a mess. And the judge and the mediator were very disappointed. And in the court documents, you can see Hamilton got a huge slap on the wrist, bunch of fines. They basically had to pay for my travel and wasting our time, which was hundreds of dollars. Like, it wasn't anywhere near the amount of stress and anxiety that it took us to get there. But it was just a mess. They were nowhere to be found. And the one good thing that came from that is just sitting down, having a conversation with some highly educated people at that time. One of the people that knew a lot about the law, she told me, this is an interesting case. And you don't want to be the defendant in an interesting case. Because when you have an interesting case, it means there's not a whole lot of law that's been decided on one side or the other. And so we might have to see this, is what I got from this, is we might have to see this case through all the way to the end, whatever that means. in order to set precedent for future cases like this. And it's back to that saying of like, you never want to be first. And unfortunately, in this case, we were. Thanks for watching another chapter of Upcycling the American Dream. It's important to note that all the viewpoints, stories, and facts shared in these chapters are coming from me, myself, and I, Robert Thomas Custer. They are mine alone and are not shared by Vortic LLC, Vortic Watch Company, and its related parties. For our full legal description and our full legal disclaimer, go to vorticwatches.com/victory. You'll also find at that link a special offer and a link to pre-order our upcoming book. Again, vorticwatches.com/victory.